Jessy had always been a fighter, long before she ever touched a pole, before the neon glow of Atlanta nights became the only light she could rely on. Life had taught her early that survival wasn't glamorous. It was messy, painful, and sometimes humiliating. But Jessy did what she had to do, because nobody else was going to save her or her little sister. The club had never been her dream. It was a last resort. Under the pulse of flashing lights, men watched without seeing. The music drowned out her thoughts, but it never silenced the truth. Jessy was dancing for survival, not attention. Every night she slipped past whispers, judgment, and wandering hands, reminding herself that this wasn't forever. One day she would escape. One day she would start over. And finally she did. Jessy packed her life into 2 suitcases, kissed her sister goodbye, and boarded a flight to Seoul, a city where no one knew her past, where she could rebuild from scratch. The moment she stepped off the plane, the cold air felt like freedom. She breathed deeply and whispered to herself, "New city, new chances, new Jessy." For the first time in a long time, hope didn't feel like a lie. She found a small job at a cozy cafe, rented a tiny apartment with paper-thin walls, and tried her best to blend into a world completely unlike the one she came from. Seoul was fast, polished, full of opportunities and expectations Jessy struggled to understand, but she loved the challenge. Every day was a step away from her past. Then one afternoon, everything changed. It was raining, the soft, misty kind that made the city look like a watercolor painting. Jessy was cleaning tables when a man walked in, shaking water from his tailored coat, his presence so sharp and elegant he seemed carved from the storm itself. Sang-Jun. She didn't know his name yet. She only knew that he carried an aura she'd never felt before, controlled, cold, powerful. His expression was unreadable, his posture regal, as if he'd been raised to command rooms without speaking. He ordered a coffee, barely glancing up. Jessy brought it to him, her hand brushing his slightly by accident. She whispered a quick apology, but his reaction surprised her. His gaze lifted, and for a moment, the ice in his eyes softened. It was only a second, but enough to make Jessy's heartbeat stutter. He studied her, not in the way men used to under club lights, but as if he was trying to understand something about her. Something she didn't realize she was showing. "Thank you," he said quietly. Just 2 words. But his voice held something, warmth trying to escape restraint. Jessy walked away quickly, annoyed at herself for noticing him at all. A man like that didn't fit into her world, and she definitely didn't fit into his. Later, her coworker whispered excitedly, "Do you know who that is?" "That's Sang-Jun, the Sang-Jun, heir to Jean Group. Billionaire. The youngest CEO in their family line." Jessy froze. A billionaire. Well, that explained the aura. But billionaires didn't look twice at girls like her, girls who fled from a past soaked in neon lights and survival. At least, that's what she believed. As she walked home through the rain that night, Jessy felt something she wasn't ready to admit, a spark, a curiosity, a pull toward a man whose world was the complete opposite of hers. She shook the feeling off. This was her new beginning, not the start of another complication. But fate has a way of ignoring boundaries. The next day, Sang-Jun returned. And the next. And the next. He always sat in the same corner, ordered the same drink, and watched Jessy with quiet eyes full of unspoken questions. Jessy didn't realize it yet, but her new life was about to collide with the one man she was never supposed to meet. A man whose love would change everything, and whose family would one day try to destroy her. The story of how a billionaire fell in love with a girl he was never meant to know had just begun. Jessy noticed the change long before she admitted it. Sang-Jun wasn't just visiting the cafe. He was watching her, not in a predatory way, not in the way men used to stare at her old life in Atlanta. His gaze was different, measured, curious, almost cautious, as if he sensed there was more to her than the smile she offered customers, more beneath the calm surface she worked so hard to maintain. But Jessy wasn't interested in being noticed by a billionaire, especially one like him. One morning, she found him already seated when she arrived to open the cafe. He looked up from his phone, the smallest hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "You're early," she said, raising a brow. "So are you," he replied. Jessy shrugged. "Some of us don't have assistants to do our work for us." To her surprise, Sang-Jun let out a quiet laugh, a warm, genuine sound she hadn't expected. It transformed his sharp, intimidating features into something almost boyish. For a moment, Jessy forgot who he was. That was the danger. That, and the way he slowly began asking questions, soft, careful questions that made Jessy feel like he wanted to know her, not evaluate her. How long have you lived in Seoul? Do you enjoy working here? What brought you to Korea? Jessy skillfully dodged the last question every time. She wasn't ready to expose her scars. But the more Sang-Jun came around, the more she realized he wasn't just passing time. He stayed longer each day. He watched her with quiet admiration. And he listened, really listened, when she spoke. One evening, as Jessy wiped down tables and locked the doors, she saw him waiting outside, holding an umbrella. Rain fell in silver sheets around him. "You'll get soaked walking home," he said simply. Jessy hesitated. Accepting help felt dangerous. Letting him close felt reckless. But rain was pouring, and she was tired of pretending she didn't feel the magnetic pull between them. So she stepped under the umbrella. Their shoulders brushed. Her heartbeat betrayed her. And for a moment, Seoul's chaotic streets faded until it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. "You don't have to walk me all the way," she said, trying to slow her breathing. "I know," he replied, "but I want to." There was no flirtation in his voice. No agenda. Just sincerity, so rare that Jessy didn't know how to respond. They reached her apartment building, and Jessy awkwardly stepped back. "Thank you for the umbrella escort," she said. "Jessy," he murmured, and she froze at how gently her name left his lips. "If you ever need anything, I'm here." Her throat tightened. She didn't want to need him. His world was too polished, too pristine. A world that would crush her if it ever discovered who she used to be. "You shouldn't say things like that," she whispered. "Why?" "Because men like you don't end up with women like me." Sang-Jun's eyes sharpened, something fierce flickering beneath his calm exterior. "You have no idea what type of woman I want," he said softly. Jessy stepped back, overwhelmed by the honesty in his voice. But before she could respond, her old life reached out like a shadow. A notification flashed across her cracked phone screen. A message from an old co-worker at the club. "Someone from Korea has been asking about you, real persistent. Says he's running a background check." Jessy's stomach dropped. No one in Seoul should know about her past. No one. Fear coiled in her chest. Who would dig into her life? Why? Who even had the power? Then, slowly, a terrifying thought surfaced. What if Sang-Jun wasn't the only one watching her? What if someone didn't want her near him? Jessy didn't know it yet, but Sang-Jun's family had already heard whispers about the mysterious black woman occupying the future heir's attention. And they were about to make their first move. Jessy didn't sleep that night. She lay awake staring at the ceiling of her tiny apartment, the message from her old coworker replaying in her mind like a warning siren. Someone was asking questions about her. Someone with money, resources, power. And Jessy knew exactly what kind of people had that kind of reach in Seoul. By morning, her nerves were stretched thin. When she arrived at the cafe, Sang-Jun was already there waiting for her, as if he had felt the tremor in her world. He stood when she entered, his expression unreadable, but the softness she had grown used to was gone. Something cold had settled in his eyes. "We need to talk," he said quietly. Those 4 words made her stomach twist. Jessy forced a smile. "Is everything okay?" Sang-Jun hesitated. A rare crack appeared in his perfect composure, and that alone terrified her more than anything else. "My family asked about you," he finally said. The air in Jessy's lungs turned heavy. "Why would they do that?" "Because I've been different," he admitted. "They notice everything. They know I've been coming here. They know I've been spending time with you." Jessy swallowed hard. "Did you tell them anything?" "No," he answered. "But they don't need me to. They investigate anything they consider a distraction. I didn't think they'd act this fast." Too late, Jessy already knew. They had found enough to be suspicious, and suspicious families like his didn't stop at suspicion. "What did they do?" she asked. Sang-Jun exhaled deeply. "They asked my assistant to run a preliminary background check on you. And he told me last night." Jessy's heartbeat roared in her ears. This was it. The life she'd built, the fragile peace she'd worked for, cracking open because she let herself get too close to a man like him. Sang-Jun stepped closer. Jessy, I didn't ask them to do that. I didn't want this. But it's happening, she said quietly, her throat tight. And I can't stop it. He looked at her then, the way a man looks when he's terrified of losing something he never expected to care about. I don't care about your past, he said. Whatever it is, it doesn't change how I see you. But Jessy knew better than to believe in fairy tale promises. Love was simple. Real life wasn't. Before she could respond, the cafe door swung open. A woman in an expensive cream coat entered, her expression sharp as a blade. Her heels clicked against the floor like a warning. She looked directly at Jessy. No greeting, no smile, then turned to Sang-Jun with a familiarity that chilled Jessy's blood. There you are, the woman said. Your mother sent me. She wants to know why you've been avoiding the family group meeting. Jessy froze. This wasn't just anyone. This was someone from his world. Sang-Jun stiffened. Unseo, not now. But Unseo's eyes slid back to Jessy with thinly veiled disdain, lingering on her simple apron, her worn sneakers, the faint circles under her eyes. Jessy felt stripped bare under that judgmental stare. So this is the reason. Her voice dripped with cold amusement. A cafe girl. Jessy's cheeks heated, not with shame, but with the fury of a woman whose entire life had been reduced to one dismissive sentence. Sang-Jun stepped in front of her, blocking Unseo's gaze. Stop. You don't speak to her like that. Unseo raised a brow. Your mother was right. You're letting yourself be distracted. Jessy clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. She had spent years surviving humiliation. She would not break over this. But then Unseo delivered the final blow. You should warn her, she said, her smile sharp as glass. Your family won't tolerate someone like her entering your life. And they've already begun digging deeper. Jessy felt the ground shift beneath her. Deeper. They were going to find everything. The neon lights, the stage, the whispers, the videos filmed without her consent, the men who thought her survival was entertainment. Sang-Jun turned to Jessy the moment Unseo left, but Jessy stepped back before he could speak. This is what I was trying to avoid, she whispered. Your family, your world, it's going to destroy me. And I won't let that happen, he said fiercely. Jessy shook her head. You can't stop them. You know that. Her voice wavered, the truth slicing through her chest. She had worked so hard to bury her past, but now it was clawing its way back into the light, because she let herself fall for someone she could never have. Sang-Jun reached for her hands, his voice breaking in a way she had never heard. Jessy, please. Don't walk away from me. Jessy looked into his eyes, the eyes of a man torn between love and legacy, and she felt the first crack in her heart. I'm not walking away, she said softly, but your family has already declared war on me, and I don't know how to fight a war like this. She didn't know it yet, but the real battle hadn't even begun. They had only just taken their positions. The storm didn't come slowly. It hit Jessy all at once. The first sign was the silence, strange, uncomfortable silence from customers who used to greet her with warm smiles. They whispered now, looked twice, avoided her eyes, and Jessy felt it immediately. Someone knew. Someone had said something. That morning, while wiping down the counter, her manager approached her with a tight expression. Jessy, there's something online you need to see. Her stomach dropped. She took the manager's phone with trembling fingers. There it was, a grainy, low-quality club video from Atlanta of her dancing, under neon lights, back when life had cornered her. A video she never knew existed. A video she never consented to. Posted anonymously. But the caption was worse. This is the woman spending time with Korea's most eligible heir? Interesting. Her past. Exposed. Heat rushed to her face. Shame she thought she'd buried ripping her open again. She handed the phone back, blinking fast to keep from breaking down in the middle of the cafe. Who posted it? How did they get it? Why now? The answer came a few hours later when Sang-Jun stormed into the cafe, eyes blazing with a fury Jessy had never seen in him. Jessy, don't look at anything online, he said, voice tight. I already did, she whispered. He exhaled shakily, fighting to stay composed. My family. They hired private investigators. Someone obtained footage from years ago. They paid to have it released. Jessy stared at him, stunned. Why would they do that? Because they want to scare you away, he said, jaw clenching. And because they want to humiliate me. Jessy's knees weakened. She grabbed the edge of a table, grounding herself. I can't believe this, she whispered. They're trying to destroy me. They're trying to destroy us, Sang-Jun corrected softly. But Jessy wasn't sure there was still an us after this. By evening, the story had spread farther. Websites picked it up. Social media accounts posted her picture next to Sang-Jun's. Comment sections exploded with insults about her race, her past, her worth. She skipped dinner, stayed in her apartment, curled on the floor as the world judged her based on a life she had survived, not chosen. When someone banged on her door that night, Jessy flinched. It was Sang-Jun. He entered without waiting for permission, his expression breaking when he saw her curled up, eyes swollen from tears. I'm so sorry, he whispered, sitting beside her on the floor. Jessy shook her head. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. If I hadn't come into your life. She cut him off. Stop. You didn't expose me. You didn't shame me. Your family did that. At the mention of them, his eyes darkened. I confronted them. It didn't go well. What happened? She asked. My father told me I was embarrassing the family name. That being with you is the biggest mistake of my life. My mother said if I continue seeing you, I'll lose everything. My inheritance, my position, my reputation. Jessy's breath caught. They said that. He nodded. They want me to cut you off officially. Publicly. Jessy felt something inside her crack. And what did you say? Sang-Jun swallowed hard, his voice barely steady. I refused. I told them I won't leave you. Jessy stared at him, hope flickering, fragile and terrified. But, he continued, his voice trembling now, they gave me a final warning. If I keep choosing you, they will cut me out of the family entirely. Jessy's chest squeezed painfully. She wanted to be brave. She wanted to believe love could survive anything. But the reality was suffocating. Sang-Jun, that's your whole life. You're my life, he said, without hesitation. Jessy looked away. No, I can't be the reason you lose everything. You're the reason I found myself, he said desperately. His words broke her. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks. Sang-Jun, look at what they're doing to me, she whispered. Imagine what they'll do to you. I don't care. But I do, she cried. I care about you too much to watch your world burn because of me. He grabbed her hands, voice cracking. Don't do this. Don't push me away. But Jessy was collapsing under the weight of shame, fear, and the brutal, merciless judgment of a world that decided she didn't deserve him. I'm not strong enough for this, she whispered. Yes, you are, he said fiercely. We're strong enough. She gently pulled her hands back. Something inside her shattered. Your family has already won, Jessy said quietly. They've made me feel like I'll never be enough. And they won't stop until they destroy everything between us. Sang-Jun looked at her as if she had stabbed him. Jessy, please. She closed her eyes. I think you should go. He stared at her, stunned, broken, refusing to move. Jessy forced the words out, each one cutting her open. Please, Sang-Jun. Just go before I change my mind. The silence that followed was devastating. He rose slowly to his feet, tears filling his eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Sang-Jun left her apartment with the weight of a man losing the only person who ever loved him for who he was, not who he was supposed to be. And Jessy collapsed the moment the door shut, realizing that pushing him away didn't save either of them. It only marked the beginning of the darkest chapter of their story. Days passed, but to Jessy, they felt like years, slow, heavy, and filled with the kind of quiet heartbreak that clings to the air like cold fog. She returned to work, but every smile felt forced. Every step felt heavier. And every time the cafe door opened, her heart betrayed her, hoping it was him. But Sang-Jun didn't come. Not because he didn't want to, but because his entire world was collapsing in on him. When his parents realized Jessy had stepped back, they believed they'd won. They expected Sang-Jun to fall back in line, attend their events, smile for their guests, and forget the woman who had turned their perfect son into a rebel. They were wrong, because Sang-Jun wasn't the same man they had raised to obey. Jessy had changed him. Jessy had awakened something that could not be silenced. When his father tried to arrange a marriage meeting for him, Sang-Jun stood up in the middle of the room and said the 3 words that changed everything. "I choose her." Gasps rippled across the room. His mother nearly dropped her teacup. His father's face darkened, the way storms do before lightning strikes. "You will lose everything," his father said coldly. "Then I will rebuild everything," Sang-Jun replied. "But I won't rebuild without her." His parents didn't know what to say to a son who had already chosen his future, even if it meant abandoning his past. Ahead of him lay uncertainty, but behind him lay a life without Jessy, and he refused to live that way. That night, Sang-Jun walked in pouring rain across the city to the only place that had ever felt honest to him, the cafe where Jessy first said his name. The moment the door swung open, Jessy froze. He was drenched, breathless, and shaking, not from the cold, but from the weight of everything he had just sacrificed. "Sang-Jun," she whispered, unable to move. He stepped closer, water dripping from his hair, eyes burning with emotion. "Why didn't you let me fight for you?" Jessy's lips trembled. "Because I didn't want your life to fall apart because of me." "It would fall apart without you," he said, voice cracking. "Jessy, don't you understand? I don't care about titles, money, or power. I care about you. Only you." Tears streamed down her face before she could stop them. "Your family will not decide my happiness," he interrupted gently. "I will." Jessy looked away, still drowning in fear. "They'll never accept me." Sang-Jun reached out, lifting her chin, so she had to meet his eyes. "They will," he said softly, "because I won't let go, and because they finally realized what I'd lose if they tried to take you away again." Jessy blinked. "What do you mean?" "I told them I would cut ties permanently," he said. "And for the first time in their lives, they listened. They didn't want to lose their son." Jessy stared at him, stunned. "They asked to meet you," he whispered. She inhaled sharply. "Why?" "Because they want to apologize." Jessy's heart pounded. She couldn't imagine the Jean family apologizing to anyone, much less to her. But they did. The next day, Jessy walked into the Jean family mansion with trembling hands and a heart that felt too big for her chest. Sang-Jun never left her side. His mother stood first, expression unreadable. Then, slowly she bowed, deeply, sincerely. "We were wrong," she said, voice low and steady. "We judged you unfairly. We hurt you. And we hurt our son because of our pride." Jessy's breath caught. She had survived men with cruel eyes and judgmental stares, but she never expected this, humility from the people who once looked at her as if she were beneath them. "We only want our son to be happy," his father added quietly. "And he is when he is with you." Jessy felt tears blur her vision. Sang-Jun squeezed her hand, grounding her in the moment she never thought she'd live to see. And then, in front of the very family who once tried to destroy them, in the home where whispers once decided her worth, Sang-Jun knelt. Jessy's breath vanished. He held a small velvet box, but it wasn't the ring that mattered. It was the look in his eyes, steady, warm, certain. "Jessy," he said, voice filled with emotion, "you were never the mistake they feared. You are the miracle I never expected. The woman who taught me how to live for myself. The woman I want beside me for the rest of my life." Her hands flew to her mouth, tears flowing freely now. "Will you marry me?" A soft sob slipped from her lips as she nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Sang-Jun, 1,000 times yes." He rose, pulled her into his arms, and the mansion that once held only cold formality now echoed with something it had never known. Joy! Months later, Jessy and Sang-Jun moved into a beautiful home overlooking the city, the place where their lives had almost fallen apart, but ultimately came together. They cooked together, laughed together, loved each other without fear. Two souls from different worlds, finally living the life they fought so hard to protect. Because in the end, their love didn't just survive the storm. It rewrote their destiny, and they lived happily, fiercely, beautifully ever after. Thanks for watching Folk Tales by Queen Dora. For more interesting stories, click on the subscription button.